But peace and blessings, family. I am making this video today as I am preparing the herbs for my Lotus birth. I'm so excited. I've been waiting to do this my entire pregnancy. And now we are in the final stages, the last round, until my baby makes it earthside. So I've been trying to give myself different tasks that are not like too much, but still give me something to look forward to, something to do in this waiting period. And preparing my herbs for my baby's placenta is something that I am very excited to do. So, as I am preparing these herbs, I also just want to take the time to speak about my wild pregnancy, speak about my choice in Freebirth, and of course, explain what Lotus birth is and why I have chosen to take in this route of the wild pregnancy, Freebirth, and Lotus birth. So it's just me, my herbs, and my tea. I upped my tea game. Let me just tell you one thing. I upped my tea game. This is red raspberry leaf, nettle, alfalfa, and I put oranges in it. I used to not put anything in my tea because I actually enjoy the taste of herbs. But I don't know, for some reason, like just in this third trimester, I also saw somewhere that eating oranges is beneficial in the third trimester, which I didn't see that until after I started like squeezing some orange juice in my tea. Fire. And of course, I already knew that when you pair citrus with an herb like nettle or alfalfa, it helps with that iron absorption. So I'm like, why haven't I been doing this the whole time? But in all fairness, it is starting to become warmer out, so the whole tropical tea vibe is starting to hit. So I put orange in this, and I also added a little dash of honey because I was having really bad, like my allergies, my spring allergies were like insane a couple weeks ago. So I started adding a little bit of honey in my tea, and I've noticed how that has helped. Of course, it has to be local honey, but I got my tea, I got my herbs, and we're gonna get to it. So, herbs that I am using today, I've got my calendula. I have lavender. I have rose petals. I'm gonna order some more though, I'm real low. I have cloves. I'm using cloves, whole cloves. Some ground nutmeg. Cinnamon. Rosemary. And of course, can't forget the salt, pink Himalayan salt. I really wanted to find the Himalayan salt that was like already like grounded up, but I couldn't find it. So we're gonna be spending some time grinding this salt. And I also have some leftover orange peel that I bought from a woman online. There's only like a tiny bit left, but since I've been adding these oranges to my tea, I've been saving the peels, and I'm just going to dehydrate those, crumble those up, and use those, which I personally feel like is it's like a little pizzazz, you know, because instead of buying the orange peels, I'm utilizing the orange peels that I've already used and eaten myself. And then I took the time to dehydrate them and use them for my baby's placenta. So I feel like it's more meaningful that way. And with the rose petals, instead of ordering them, I was going to buy like a dozen roses, because I usually try to buy myself roses often anyways. I love keeping roses around. But I was gonna buy them, and then I was going to do the same thing. I was going to dry them out, and I was gonna crumble them up and utilize those too. But I've also just been like, you know what? You don't have to be doing all this extra stuff. And I'd rather just order them, the rose petals, dried already and in bulk. And I'm also going to get some chamomile. I do not plan to add the chamomile to my placenta, but I do plan to use the chamomile for my own postpartum healing. But those are the herbs that I'm using. So let's do it. Okay, so topic of discussion today. Let's start with Lotus birth, since that's what we are here doing, preparing for. So, as I grind up this pink Himalayan salt. So with a Lotus birth, if you're unfamiliar with what a Lotus birth is, it's pretty much just when the baby is born still attached to the placenta. Or let me revise that. It's when the placenta comes out still attached to the baby, because we know the baby is born first and then the placenta follows. Oh my God. Oh my God. So not only did my phone just fall, but I forgot to press record. And I've been sitting here talking for like probably another 5 to 7 minutes until I look at my camera and I'm like, I'm not even recording. I'm not even gonna sit here and blame it on the pregnancy. I'm not gonna do all that. I'm not gonna do that to myself. Whew. Let me take a moment. Anywho, what I was saying was usually it's more common, especially in hospitals. When the baby is born, they will immediately clamp and cut the cord. Clamping and cutting, two different things. It took me a while to learn this too. But with Lotus birth, the baby is born. You do not clamp or cut the cord. You leave that cord alone. And then the placenta is born. And the baby is there, placenta is there, cord is attached to them. And it's very interesting to see. I've personally never seen this in person. Unfortunately, when I gave birth to my daughter, my firstborn, it was in a hospital. I did a majority of my birthing at home. I could have easily given birth to her at home. I got to this point of exhaustion and I kind of gave up on myself. I'm a little disappointed about it, but I've done a lot of healing around that transfer. And very, very fortunately for me, the hospital that I went to, the people there were very nice. They were very sweet. They did not give me any problems. I still gave birth to my daughter unmedicated. I transferred to the hospital and gave birth to her within like an hour after I got there. Like, they were like, oh, you're ready. Like, that's why I'm like, I could have just kept going. But anywho, I did plan to do a Lotus birth with her, but unfortunately the hospital, it's against their policy. So they said the most I could do was take my placenta home. And I really wish that I had advocated more for myself. I really wish that I had fought harder to have that Lotus birth, especially since I did not have the exact birth experience that I was hoping for with my daughter. But if you've given birth before, you know what that feeling is like after you, and for me, it was like a 3-day process of like contractions building up until the birth. And so when you're just so tired and you've literally just pushed the baby out of you and all you want to do is just rest and enjoy that birth high with your baby, you don't want to fight, you don't want to argue, you just want to be there. You just want to be present with your baby and you just want to rest. And so I just was like, you know what, whatever, just give me my placenta. Don't take it and don't sell it for $50,000 on the black market. That's a story for another day. With the Lotus birth, you can do a partial Lotus birth or a full Lotus birth. What I'm preparing for right now is technically a full Lotus birth, which is why I have the salt and the herbs that I'm working with. With a full Lotus birth, you are allowing the placenta and the umbilical cord to stay attached to your baby until it dries up and it falls off on its own. You don't pull on it, you don't cut it, you don't burn it, you don't do anything to that cord or that placenta. You just allow the process to unfold as naturally as possible. Now, where the salt comes into play, if you're gonna have anything for your Lotus birth, make sure you have the salt, because the salt helps with drying up that placenta and preventing it from decaying and getting that, like, from getting any type of like infections or anything like that. With the herbs, you can have whatever herbs that you decide are best for you and your baby, whether you are in tune with your baby and you receive messages from your baby and you're like, you know what, I feel my baby wants lavender, I feel my baby wants this herb or that herb. Or if you just personally feel like, I want to use these herbs because of this physical benefit, I want to use these herbs because of this spiritual benefit, that's all up to you. This is something, if you have a partner, it could be like a fun activity to do, or if it's just something like myself that you just want to give yourself a task to do as you're in the waiting period, you can prepare them. You don't have to put them all together and prepare them. You could just gather them, and then when the baby's born, you can just sprinkle them all, you know, separately. But what you do is, you know, your baby's born, you've had your time to relax, feed your baby, and you strain the placenta in like one of those colanders, I think it's called, like where you have the strainer in the bowl underneath to allow the blood to strain. And then that's when you can put it into a separate bowl. And you can get like those like puppy dog pads or like a towel or something to put underneath the placenta in the bowl. And then you just sprinkle your salt on top, you sprinkle your herbs on top. It could be like something fun to do. You know, you're just sprinkling the salt and the herbs, and then you are adding more salt and herbs each day. You don't have to clean them off. This is just what I've learned through reading and, you know, hearing other women speak about Lotus birth and their stories. I've heard that you don't have to clean off the herbs before adding more on. So it's a pretty simple process, but you also want to just make sure that you're taking your time. That is the whole, not the whole point, but one of the main points of a Lotus birth. You want to make sure that you're moving slow, that you are not pulling on the cord. You don't want to pull on the placenta. You don't want to pass the baby around. You don't want to be walking around with the baby trying to wash dishes and do all this extra stuff. A Lotus birth really allows us to remember that it's important to do the least possible after birth. Take care of yourself, take care of your baby. That's it. Simple. That's all I have so far. I'm definitely not about to grind up all of this right now. In fact, I think I'm gonna come back to this. Otherwise, this entire video would be me grinding up salt. A lotus birth is also great for a spiritual transition. That placenta is literally our baby's twin, our baby's source of life inside of our womb and outside. I've read in my book, I got the book called it's called Placenta, the Forgotten Chakra. And it gives different stories about other people from different cultures and their experience with lotus birth. It also explains how different cultures honor the placenta. It's very beautiful. And one of the stories that I read in there, it was a doctor who was talking about his baby being born, and every time his baby would, be nursing, the cord would be pulsing. And this was like, I don't know if he said it was like a couple days or a few days after the baby was born, but the cord would still pulse. And I'm like, that's just magical. Like, you can't tell me that this placenta is just medical waste and is not doing anything. You know what I mean? Like, our bodies create these organs specifically for our baby, specifically to nurture our baby, to give our baby life. So those stem cells in that placenta are so important for our baby. And I know that there's this thing now called, or I don't know how long it's been a thing, but the cord blood banking, where people will literally pay to save their baby's cord blood when the baby's born for future healing. So if the baby, 10 years from now or something gets cancer or something, like, they would use that baby's cord blood to heal the baby. Definitely very interesting and cool, but I personally feel like, why save that and give it to my baby later in case my baby is already sick, when I could literally allow my baby to take as much of those stem cells as the baby can get immediately when they come into this world, to prevent certain things like that from happening. That's just me though. But yeah, and the spiritual aspect of it is just so fascinating, because the placenta will naturally fall off. So it's almost like the baby's born, the placenta's born, and they still have this beautiful connection, reminding the baby, like, hey, you're in this big open world. You're not so cozy in your mother's womb anymore, but you still have a piece of your home. You still have a piece of where you came from connected to you. And when the placenta detaches from the baby, it's like the placenta saying, like, you're ready now. Like, you're good. You've got what you need. You have the nutrients. You are surrounded by love. You are supported. These people, these humans are here to take care of you. You don't need me anymore, but now I am your spiritual guardian. And so that detach happens and the baby can fully settle earthside. And I think that is one of the main reasons why I am choosing a lotus birth, because I am just so big on the beauty of it. And of course, all of these different herbs that I've selected play their own spiritual role. The rosemary for protection, the lavender for protection and love as well. You know what I mean? And the calendula for that beautiful confidence, that glow. I just, I carefully selected these based off of their spiritual benefits, but I'm also aware of the physical benefits that they have as well, with some of these herbs, or a lot of these herbs being antibacterial, to help prevent the placenta from getting any type of bacteria mixing well with that salt. So if you are going to choose a lotus birth in the future, or anyone who is, make it a beautiful process. Don't just think about it spiritually. Don't just think about it physically. Look at both sides to it and decide what you feel is best for your baby. And if you are not comfortable with a Lotus birth, that's okay. You could do a partial Lotus birth where your baby is born, you don't cut the cord, you allow the placenta to be born after. That way you can still get eyes on baby and placenta still being attached. You can allow it to be attached for a couple hours, maybe even 24 hours, but then you eventually cut the cord on your own, or you can burn the cord using 2 candles. Obviously you need assistance for that as well. But that's a partial Lotus birth where you don't have, if you're impatient or if you just don't feel comfortable with, you know, allowing the full process to unfold, that's totally okay. And if you want to do partial, you can just allow it to stay connected until you feel like it's ready to be cut. And then there's also delayed cord clamping and cutting where, you know, your baby is born and you still want to take some time before the placenta is born, and you're like, you know what, I don't want to cut the cord for another 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Sometimes the placenta will come out, like, I think my placenta was born, like, I want to say it was like 10 minutes, but like also then again, I was in that birth high, but I know it wasn't that long. And I know for some women, it takes like an hour for their placenta to be born. So it really all depends on you, your body, your baby, your preference. Enough said on the Lotus birth. Let's talk about wild pregnancy. I am currently on my second wild pregnancy. If you've watched any of my previous videos, I've mentioned this before. I love the smell of roses. And a wild pregnancy, just for a brief explanation, is when you go about your pregnancy with no medical intervention. So I do not see a midwife. I have not been to any OBGYNs. I have not had any ultrasounds. None of that. I did this as well with my first pregnancy, and I see the benefits of it, obviously, within my daughter. She's super smart, super intelligent, growing beautifully, healthy, you know what I mean? But then also just how I felt during that pregnancy, as well as during this pregnancy, I feel way more at peace. I feel balanced. I don't feel an insane amount of fear. I don't have anybody telling me you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that, you should be eating this, you should be eating that, you need to take this test and that test. Just not having all of these outside voices trying to tell me how to go about my pregnancy has really allowed me to trust my own intuition, to trust my own body, trust my own baby, and trust in the higher power. Okay, Ashe. But I know this journey is not for everybody. And to be 1,000% real with you, like, I would be wrong if I said that, you know, certain fears don't come up. I'd be wrong if I said that I didn't second guess myself, you know, every once in a while between both of my pregnancies. Even though this is my second wild pregnancy, I definitely don't feel as, I don't want to say fearful, but I don't second guess myself as much as I did in the first pregnancy. And even then, with my first pregnancy, I'm very proud of myself for not allowing anyone or anything to really get to me throughout that pregnancy. In the first pregnancy, I did have one ultrasound at 12 weeks. I was like, I just want to see my baby. I just want to make sure that this is true, that there's a baby in me, you know. And when I booked that appointment with the midwife, I had to go through the fear mongering. I had to go through the looks of like the disappointment of me declining things, and the midwife was even like, I can't get you an ultrasound because you don't want to be seen and nobody's gonna support this, yada yada yada. Like I was able to get my ultrasound because I fought for it, but I also left that appointment crying, scared, afraid, second guessing myself. But then after that, I moved forward. I got my ultrasound. I heard my baby's heartbeat. It was strong. She was in there. She was perfect. I didn't know she was a she then. But it was good to know. But this time around, I just knew that me wanting that ultrasound was a way of me still outsourcing. I was still not fully trusting my intuition. I was still not fully trusting myself and my body. I still felt like I needed that outside confirmation of like, okay, this is my baby. There's a baby in here. She's healthy. So this time around, I just knew. And I knew when I got pregnant. I knew that my baby was healthy. I knew that I was healthy. And this is something that I have felt confidence with because prior to me getting pregnant the first time around, I was already practicing being in tune with myself. I had already, for a year prior to me getting pregnant the first time around, so back in like 2022 is when I started to actually acknowledge my mind, body, and spirit as a whole. And that's when I started the journey of holistic healing. I started dabbling in different things. I started becoming more mindful of what things I consume, of the life that I live, and all of that. So by the time I got pregnant, like I already knew the route I wanted to take. I already felt what was best for me and for my baby. It smells amazing. And so that's why I said this is not for everybody. Like I wouldn't go tell someone who doesn't already trust their intuition and isn't as in tune with their body. I'm not gonna be like, why aren't you doing a wild pregnancy? You're crazy. Like even someone who is in tune with their body and trusts their body but still chooses to see a doctor, like I would never knock anybody for making a decision they feel is best for their body and their baby, because at the end of the day, like pregnancy, labor, birth, postpartum, parenting in general, it should all be taken seriously. And I feel like because I chose the route of a wild pregnancy, many people might think that I don't take it as seriously just because I'm not doing what's common. But it's really the opposite. Because I take this very seriously, that is why I make certain decisions for myself. I don't just make decisions based off of what I see on the internet, based off of what I see somebody else doing and thinking like, oh, I could do that too. Of course, seeing other women go through the same process is very inspiring and truly helpful when it comes to gaining more knowledge, but it's something I already felt. It's something that's built inside of me. And a lot of women feel this way and they still go against themselves and they still go and see a doctor. They still go and allow their friends and families to tell them what they should and shouldn't do. And then that's when the stress comes and that to me, I was not dealing with it. And that's why I'm here today. Obviously, I take care of myself. I make sure I get my vitamins. I choose my vitamins very carefully. I utilize herbs as healing, as nutrients. I've taken sea moss. I've made sea moss shakes. I am very well fed thanks to my man who is a chef. He's got 14 years of experience cooking, and he has no problem cooking me anything that I want and need. And especially when I was on my vegan journey, he was very open to learning different vegan recipes to cook for me. And I was actually vegan throughout my first pregnancy, the entire pregnancy. And I was vegan up until about halfway through with this pregnancy. And as I said, I listened to my body and what my baby wants. And this baby was telling me, my body was telling me, like, you know what? I think the journey has ended for veganism. And I accepted that, you know? I didn't try to fight it. I didn't try to tell myself, like, no, this is what I should be doing. None of that. I just said, you know what? This is what my body wants. So I'm gonna start eating meat again. And I'm glad that I have, because now I see the difference in my body. Not to say that any woman who is pregnant and vegan is wrong, because like I said, I was vegan my first pregnancy and my baby still came out healthy and I was still fine. But every pregnancy is different. Every baby is different. And every time we get pregnant, we are a different version of ourselves. And I believe in growth and transitioning and transforming and shifting and really just taking the path of least resistance. So if my body is craving something, I'm not going to allow my mind to try to fight it just because I feel like, you know, oh, vegan is the right way for me to live. Like, I don't feel that way. And so I decided to start eating meat. And I noticed how it's affected my body in very beneficial ways. So with that being said, my wild pregnancy journey has been very beautiful, very peaceful. I've been surrounded by so many beautiful people. And that's another thing too, whether you're on a wild pregnancy or not, we have to be very specific about who we allow in our energy space. Period. It doesn't matter who they are, family, friends, coworkers, it don't matter who it is. You need to carefully select the people that you choose to spend your time with, whether it be during your pregnancy, during labor, birth, postpartum, because that could really affect you in ways that you might not even see. And when it comes to the fear mongering and people trying to tell me, oh, are you sure this is what you're supposed to do? Or, you know, just make sure that you do this, or blah, blah, blah. When I was pregnant, this is what happened to me. It's the birth stories, the pregnancy stories, the, oh, I wish I never did this, or, oh, I wish I did that. Like, thank you for wanting to share your story with me, but I don't want it. Period. And that's another thing. That's why I said this journey is not for everybody, because some people can easily allow others to influence them. And that is something that you got to get out of, whether you're pregnant or not. If you want to walk your own path and if you want to live your own life, you want peace and you want clarity in your life, you got to stop allowing other motherfuckers project their fears and their traumas and their doubts and their worries onto you. Because what is that going to do for you? You're not them. They not you. Just because they had a certain experience does not mean you are. This is what we're working with so far in my herbs. So far, I put in the calendula, the lavender, the rose petals, and the rosemary. It smells great. I think I'm gonna add more rosemary. I wanted to get like fresh rosemary and dry it, but again, I wanted to do a whole lot of things, but I'm also learning to take the path of least resistance. And I'm working with what I got, because that's what my ancestors want me to do. Ashe. Let's move on to Freebirth. So I am choosing to Freebirth for the second time, although my first attempt was not a success, because like I said earlier in this video, I had transferred to the hospital out of pure exhaustion. Nothing was wrong with me medically. I was fine. My baby was fine. I was just tired. And I did have a friend there with me, and she had given birth before. And, I think that she had just gotten worried, and she had said to me, I want you to stop pushing because I don't want you to go into distress. And just that one sentence just like threw me off. Like I went down a spiral. I remember it so clearly. I just remember like the moment she said that, I was like, you know what? I don't want that. I don't want this to happen to me. I want to be safe. I want my baby to be safe. So I immediately was like, we're going to the hospital. And she was like, are you sure this is what you want? And I was like, yep. I didn't want to fight it. I was just tired. I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this. And I realized too, I wasn't allowing myself to get into different positions. I wasn't moving around as much. I would get up and, kind of move. I would get in the tub a couple of times, but like, I kept freezing up. I see, when I look back, I see a lot of different things that I could have avoided, a lot of different things that I could have done differently. But you know what? Shoulda, coulda, woulda. I'm not going to sit here and beat myself up. I ain't got nothing to prove to nobody or nothing. But the fact that I even tried, the fact that I even did a majority of my laboring at home, I'm proud of. But this time around, I've gone into this way more prepared. I've actually mapped out a way more detailed and clear birth plan, specifically for myself, for my man, and for the people that are going to be there with me while I'm in labor. Because that's another thing. I definitely believe that us women are capable of, giving birth by ourselves. A lot of women unexpectedly do it. Their partner is at work and they're home alone, and then their water breaks and they're like, oh shit, bro, this baby coming now. And we are just, if you look at nature, look at how the animals, they go off into a little cave and they go do their thing by themselves. But do I think that we should be doing it alone? Absolutely not. I feel like we need that support so that we can really just go inward. And anything that we need as far as water, towels, filling up the bathtub, helping us get up, helping us get down, reminding us to breathe, reminding us to switch positions. Like, we need that. We need that support to allow our birth to really just flow as smoothly as possible, and to allow our spirit to go inward, to go deep, so we can go get our baby from the spirit realm and bring our baby earthside. So no, we should not be doing it alone. But I do feel more comfortable doing that in the comfort of my own home, my space, where I have control of the energy for, where I have control over how light or dark it is in here, how I have the control to decide which room I want to go in, what positions I want to move in, whether I want to lay in my own bed or not, wear my own comfy clothes or not, go in my own shower and bathtub or not, eat and drink when or where I want to or not. Like, being in my own home gives me the comfort to just be as free and authentic and raw and primal as I can be, without random people being around me, without being in a cold environment with all of these lights around me, and then hearing all these different questions and having to be asked all these tests and people wanting to do all these interventions. Like, that's just too much for me. It's too much for me. And that's my personal opinion on it. Again, like I said, with the wild pregnancy and with the Lotus bird, at the end of the day, this is up to us. This is just a decision that is between me, my baby, and the higher power. Nobody else. Nobody else. And if anybody wants to take that step and be like, oh, but what about your partner? Like, what about your lover, the one that you're in this with? Like, I have, and I still continue to give my man the opportunity to be heard. I allow him to express his concerns. I share my own education with him. But at the end of the day, he's not the one that's going through it. He's observing and witnessing, and he is a part of the process, but he's not the one that is carrying the baby. He is not the one that is pushing the baby out. He's not the one that's going and getting this baby from the spirit realm and bringing this baby here. I am. I'm the only one that is intuitively connected to this baby and physically. So that should be my decision. Because if I listen to what other people want me to do and I'm going against my own intuition and my own body, that's when things happen. That's when things outside of me start to happen that I could have avoided if I had just listened to what my own body actually needed. And I'm very fortunate to have a partner who is very respectful and open and accepting of this journey. He's been doing the most when it comes to educating himself, hearing me out when I talk about certain things. I wrote out my birth plan and he typed it up for me. I told him all the things that I'm going to need during my pregnancy, during my birth, during my postpartum, and he tackles everything like it's a mission. He gets it done. That's my man. And he loves me. He just wants me to be safe and healthy and happy, and he wants the same for our child. That's it. And that's why he's not fighting me against it. Because he knows if he tries to fight, if he tries to resist, it's going to cause too much tension. And he trusts me as a woman, as an intuitive woman, a woman who is tapped into her own mind, body, and spirit. He trusts me. And because of that, I trust him to be there for me, to advocate for me, to support me, to be a voice for me if I do need to go to the hospital. Because that's the thing, I'm not anti-hospital. Yes, my plan is to free birth. No midwife, no doula, because that is what a free birth is. I didn't even say the definition of what a free birth was to begin with. But a free birth is when you are birthing in the comfort of your own home, or even if you're out, some women be outside in their backyards, in the woods. Some women be giving birth in the ocean with the dolphins. I wish I was as cool as them. But yes, a free birth is when you do not have any medical professional and just nobody interrupting the process. It's just either you by yourself, you and your kids, you and your partner, you and your mom, you and your dad, whatever, you and a trusted loved one. No birth professional. And they'll call that, a lot of people refer to a free birth as an unassisted birth. But after actually listening to the Freebirth Society podcast, one of the episodes where she was speaking with, what's her name? Laura Kaplan, Shanley, something. The woman who wrote the book Unassisted Birth. She was talking about her book, and she was like, the publisher had said, oh, the name of your book is Unassisted Birth. And she was like, I didn't even think about it as unassisted. It's just free birth. Because when we say the term unassisted, it's almost like you're doing this process just you by yourself. But at the end of the day, even if nobody's touching me, nobody's doing anything, I'm not doing this unassisted. My baby is doing this with me. My baby is doing the work with me. Spirit is working with me. So at the end of the day, I'm not having an unassisted birth. I'm having a free birth. I am birthing freely, naturally. I am actually looking beyond just the physical aspect, acknowledging the physical aspect of birth, acknowledging the beauty of how my body works and moves, but also looking at the spiritual and acknowledging the spiritual aspects of birth, and allowing my ancestors, allowing my guides, allowing all of spirit to be with me during this process, and allowing my baby to do what my baby knows to do naturally. Because you can't tell me that is just random. Like, that is the work of spirit. That's the work of energy. It's the work of the unknown and the unseen, of how our bodies just naturally know how to grow a baby, and how our bodies naturally know how to push that baby out, and how our babies naturally know how to wiggle and move down that canal as the body is contracting. It's just such a beautiful process that society has made us believe that we need to be saved from, that we need to jumpstart, that we need to make it happen as soon as possible. No, I was 42 weeks and 4 days when I gave birth to my daughter. That's why this time around, I'm like, I'm not even counting the weeks. I'm aware of how far along I am, but I've also gotten to a point where I don't like to tell people how far along I am. Why? Because that's when the fear mongering starts. Once you reach 40 weeks and your baby ain't here, that's when people are telling you, oh, your baby's gonna get too big. You sure you don't want to get induced? You might need a C-section. When I was 40 weeks, this happened. I was late and this happened. And da 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 da. No, you definitely not coming to me with that bullshit. and the thing is my family and friends learned the first time around. Now the second time around, I bet you ain't nobody gonna be coming to me with that bullshit. We're not doing that. None of it. Gosh, this is beautiful. But yeah, I mapped out my birth plan. I got way more clear, way more detailed than I did last time. I feel way more confident. I also mapped out a hospital protocol. That way, if I needed to transfer for whatever reason, or if I decide I just want to go, even if I'm healthy and my baby's healthy, if I'm just like, you know what, I just want to go to the hospital, whatever. I got a whole plan mapped out. That way, my man and my family know how to advocate for me, because that is serious. That is very serious. That's also one of the main reasons why I am a doula in training. If you didn't know, I'm preparing to serve women and families, children in the South Shore of Massachusetts. And I'm really, really passionate about this journey. And I really want to make sure that every single woman knows her power, knows her rights, and feels like she has somebody on her side that feels like family, somebody that she knows, like, Jamira got me. Jamira is going to help me throughout my pregnancy. Jamira is going to help me throughout my labor. She's going to be there for me during my birth. And she's going to come to me during my postpartum and help me get right. That's the type of doula that I want to be. I want you to think of me as your sister. Not just as this support person that you just hire just to be there to watch you give birth. Nah. I don't want it to feel like it's just some kind of transaction or some kind of medical appointment. I want you to think of me as your sister, as someone you got to know and I got to know. We got to relate to each other. I share my education with you. You share your experiences with me. We learn together. We grow together. We heal together, because we are in this process together. So yes, doula certification coming soon. But in the meantime, I am doing my own practices on my own self, and I have been. Not to toot my own horn, but I mean, shit. Some days I'm like, I feel healthier than I have before I ever got pregnant. Before I even started this holistic healing journey, I feel way healthier now. Mind, body, and spirit. You feel me? With these cloves, I'm gonna grind these up so I can get like the full benefit. These smell crazy. I don't know if I should use the whole thing. I'm gonna just do like half for now. And then we'll see. So I still got some time. Even if my baby were to pop out tomorrow, like, you know what I'm saying? And I might save some of these cloves to add for my toothpaste, because I make my own toothpaste. It smells divine. So I've added all my herbs. Oh, I forgot the orange peel. Even though there's like nothing in here. Okay, there ain't nothing in there. But again, I'm gonna order some more rose petals, and I'm going to dehydrate my own orange peel. And I feel like once I add those, the smell is just gonna be crazy. It's already really good right now. But once I add more rose petals and orange, it's gonna like balance out the smell. Give it more of like a floral, citrusy scent. But right now, it definitely smells very like grounding. And I'm gonna store it in this mason jar. But remember that salt that I started with? I'm gonna finish grinding some more salt and add it in. This might be a couple-day process. I don't know if I could use them whole. I'm gonna look that up. I'm sure I probably can. But to be honest, I don't mind sitting here doing this. So I'm gonna end this video here because I feel like I done already said a whole lot. And yeah. So that's my take on Lotus birth, wild pregnancy, and free birth. There's a whole lot more that I could say that goes into all of these 3 different processes. But it's another story for another day, baby. Another post, another video. But if you made it this far into my video, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for hearing me, for listening to me, for supporting me. And I pray that if you are either pregnant or planning to get pregnant, that you trust yourself, that you trust your body, trust your baby, trust your intuition. Don't allow anyone or anything to try to dictate how you should live and how you should go about this process, because this process is very beautiful, it's very life-changing, very transformative. You are very vulnerable during this process, so it can be very easy for you to take on other people's projections. So you have to be strong as you can possibly be, but also allow yourself to live. Allow yourself to be present with yourself throughout this process, because again, like I said, it's very beautiful and very transformative if you allow it to be. So roll with it. Ride the wave and really enjoy. And again, if you are pregnant or planning to get pregnant, I am wishing a beautiful, safe pregnancy over you. I am wishing a beautiful, safe labor and delivery for you and your baby, no matter how you choose to go about that. I pray that you are surrounded by love. I pray that you are surrounded by peace, balance, harmony. Pray that you are receiving as much clarity as possible. I pray that your cup is full and overflowing. I pray that you are joyful. I pray that you are safe. I pray that you are healthy. Yeah. I pray that you tune in to my next video, whenever that is. Peace.